All right. It's 1 o'clock on the dot over here, Sarah. We are going to jump into this webinar, but before, let's introduce ourselves. First of all, you guys, thanks for joining us this afternoon. For this next hour, we're going to be talking about improving your enrolled to start rates. I knew it. I knew the second we chose this topic and put this webinar together that people would want this, this topic covered, because Sarah and I have been consulting with schools for years, and it's increasingly becoming one of the biggest problems with beauty schools across the country is that people are signing on the dotted line, they're enrolling in school, but they're not starting. So we have some great tips today to improve that rate. But before we jump in, Sarah, tell us about yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Holmes. I'm with Advanced 360 Education. We are a digital marketing agency that works exclusively with schools to help you increase your enrollments and make you more money. I spend a lot of my focus within the beauty school sector because not only am I a beauty school graduate, but I spent 12 years of my life as a director of admissions for a beauty school. So when I say, oh, I understand what you're going through, or I know I've been in your chair, I mean it. I enrolled for 12 years. I met with our leads. I know the challenges you face and the opportunities. And thank you for having me, Jen. Excited to be back.
Of course. Sarah and I go way back. We used to work at a beauty school together, and we've just been friends ever since. Some people can't tell our voices apart, but I can, because I say y'all because I live in the South, and Sarah's from California. So Sarah, you're my best California example is of your accent is saying a few words and then just taking a little bit of a pause.
What's the hurry, Jen? You're like, are you finished talking? What's happening?
multiple sentences within one sentence. It's my favorite way that Californians talk. Let's jump in to our webinar because we have so much to go over. I'm going to go ahead and get this PowerPoint up, and I'm going to go between us, Sarah, so that this PowerPoint doesn't take up the whole screen while we're talking. But again, just as an introduction, we're going to be talking about improving enrolled to start rates. It's one thing to enroll, it's another thing for someone to start. And the goal is always to get people to start. So a little bit about who we are. We are Beauty Schools Marketing Group. I'm Jen Lyles, the Executive Director for Beauty Schools Marketing Group. Our number one top product is beautyschoolsdirectory.com. We drive tens of thousands of leads to our website a month, and we match those potential leads, potential students with schools in their area. So if you're looking to get more enrollments, we would love to have you listed on our directory, featured, and then matched with our schools. At the very end, Sarah and I have our contact information up for you guys, and you can get a hold of either one of us if you would like to book a meeting. Okay, number one, Sarah, what is one of the reasons that people aren't starting?
So before we dive in, I want to say something. I want to bring up a story. So about a year and a half ago, Jen and I did a training consulting with a beauty school. We were going over enrollments and goals and everything. And then they're like, well, our goal is this, but then after, 15% no starts, the goal is this. And Jen and I were both like, wait, what? 15% no starts? Like, what are you talking about? Oh yeah, typically we'd let them get about 15 to 20% no starts. And our mind was blown. That is a very big number. And the fact that, kind of like leadership was expecting that number showed what an issue this is really specifically across beauty schools. So I just wanted to start with, you should not be having 15%, 10% not start. That's a high number.
Yeah, in fact, what Sarah and I would prefer schools to see is maybe a couple, maybe one or two don't start. And that could be based on health reasons. And by the way, that no start just means a delayed start. So maybe they're going to start the following month. But we have seen a trend in why this is happening. And one of those reasons is the first point, that admissions is pushing people to start when they're not ready. This, guys, is a problem from the top down, almost always. So Sarah, having worked in admissions, and having worked with so many schools that have admissions departments, You know what it's like to have a start goal.
Mhm.
Tell us about the pressure in admissions to get people to start.
So typically it's a every 4 week start goal. Every fourth week, it's like Groundhog's Day. It's okay, we got to fill this class start. So us admissions people are really driven by success. So when we have a goal, we want to stick to it. So when we meet with people, maybe there's a little tiny red flag about, well, I don't know if this is the best start for me. And it's our job to talk them into wanting to do this and enroll in school. And the sooner you get done, the sooner you'll graduate and all of that stuff. If we would have just paid a little bit more attention to what the student was saying and their kind of alarms that went off within the interview process, we may have not had these no starts. So think about the work you're doing with a no start. You're meeting with them once, you're doing their enrollment paperwork, signing them up, putting them in the system, and then they push to a different start date or they no start. You're having to redo all that paperwork. So you're doing it twice.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was a big thing as a director of admissions for me. I would rather have somebody not hit that goal than have to spend time doing it all over again twice for somebody who probably wasn't going to start anyway.
And, for the owners and directors that are on this call today, I want to really empower and remind you guys that when your admissions staff enrolls someone today for a June start, you need to celebrate that the same as a March start.
Yep.
Right,
Yep.
Sarah? I mean, how many times have we heard about people in meetings to go over start numbers and it's like, I got 10 for March. I've already got 4 for April. I have 2 for, May, and an owner or a director is like, how can we move them up? Why are they starting in May?
Mm-hmm.
It is your job in admissions not to start people before they're ready. It's going to lead possibly to even more leave of absences.
Yep. And, we have to look at start date by start date, every 4 weeks, but let's also look at quarterly or biannually or annually, because you might have missed your last month's class start, but you're already over quarterly because you are thinking ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some good cues? As you know, Sarah, you're meeting with someone admissions almost always.
Mhm.
Someone's going to try to push it off, right? Like, oh, you know what? I'm going to have to talk to my boss. I need to get in daycare. Like, what are some ways where maybe you could talk someone into starting sooner, but also not push them to it?
So if it's something in our control in that room, meaning they're nervous or they're scared, then it's talking to them, reminding them about their passion, circling back to what this looks like for them. What is their end game? They wanted to, be their own boss and open a salon. This is how you get there. If it's something like work schedule or childcare that they're like, well, I have to talk to my boss and make sure I can change my schedule. That is something, obviously, go to your boss, talk to them, but that's not something that's within our control. Yeah, I would love to say as an admissions director, get everybody enrolled right away, but there are things that are out of our control.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would, our advice to anyone on this call who's in admissions is, even if you have pressure from the top to make everyone in that next class start, you really need to go back to the table and have a conversation with your boss and say, I'm sick of people not starting. I'm sick of redoing paperwork, redoing contracts, having people put on LOA. Overall, it's not good for the school when you are forcing people to start early. But of course, like you mentioned, Sarah, there are cases where it's really just nerves, and it does take that admissions salesperson to push someone into a class start because that they're ready, even if they don't.
Right. And people say, oh, well, don't be pushy, don't be sharky. Remember, this is what they wanted. Specifically, we're seeing with the Gen Z is a lot of hesitation in life in general, especially being in person, going to school. So remind them of their passion. This was their idea.
Absolutely. Love it. Okay. We're going to jump back into our slide deck and go on to the second point. And this is a big one. Okay. Because when people enroll, they're walking out of your office with nothing, with absolutely nothing. When you're walking out of the car dealership, you're driving away in a $20,000, $30,000 car. You're putting it on social media and you're bragging. It kills me that we are not in schools, getting people more excited the second they enroll. So for example, if someone posts something on social media, they're going to be embarrassed not to follow through. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's true, right, Sarah?
Why do you think I never, right? Why do you think I never post about Pilates or exercise online? Like on my,
if you don't follow through.
Right. So, but Jen, that is so true. That is such a great point.
Yeah. You know, it's funny that, that like I used to live in Alabama. And when my husband and I, this was like in 2011, we decided to move to Phoenix, and we decided on a whim. We were like, let's just move to a city. And when I say we, I mean me, right? Like I decided I was going to move to a city I'd never been to. So we show up in Phoenix for interviews, and my husband's like, I don't want to move here. This doesn't feel right. And this is 2011. And I tell him, I already posted on Facebook we're moving, so you better believe we're moving.
Yeah.
You don't think that other people think the same way?
So true. Such a great point.
Yeah. So what we need to do is have, maybe it's a selfie station, something where you're offering to have a ring light, have a board that they're holding up, like how wedding shops have like, I said yes to the dress.
Yep. Love it.
That's what people should do. Like, I enrolled, I'm starting in September, I'm starting in January, whenever it is. And once they post that on their social, that's their reminder. And they're going to be mortified not to start because 117 people already liked it on Instagram.
Exactly. And the best about that is then the school can use that as organic content, right? Because schools are always desperate for organic content. But that's so true. And getting them excited and, even telling them. So say they have an enrollment appointment tomorrow, Jen, I know you're coming in tomorrow to finish your paperwork. I'm so excited for you. Just to let you know, we have the cutest little selfie station with a ring light that you can take your picture and put on your social media. What I'm telling Jen is you better come in with your hair and your makeup done because you're going to have your picture taken if you want. So they know. So it's not a surprise for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of letdown when you leave that when you leave that last admissions appointment, because up until that point, you're salesy. We're going to do this. You're going to get enrolled. It's going to change your life. You sign the paper. Okay. See you later. Never talking to you again. And it's like, you go home and you're like, buyer's remorse. What did I do? I don't want to do this. I don't want to start school. I don't want to have to give up 8 hours a day. And these people are in their head. But if they had left that appointment with this high, with this empowerment feeling, with a photo, it's different.
And give them something tangible. We can't give them their iPads. We can't give them their kit because they haven't started money-wise, but reach out to your skincare lines, your hair care lines, ask for gratis. You guys spend a lot of money on back bar and retail, ask for gratis and put together a small little goodie bag that they can go home with, something to feel and touch and get them excited. Make branded pens, papers, pop sockets, like whatever.
I agree. Everyone loves a pop socket, a notepad, a sticker for the back of their car, whatever it is that can be branded with swag with your school to start getting them to be ambassadors, or even a t-shirt. I know, Sarah, you and I worked with another school where that's what they did. Everyone who enrolled, they gave them a t-shirt right on the spot so that they would be walking billboards from the second they left. Yep. We need to give them something. Y'all, we are asking these kids to take out expensive loans. They're taking out $25,000. We need to be doing this for them so that they can walk out, with that sense of empowerment of I did this and I own this. We have something in the chat. And by the way, you guys, if you have questions, pop them in the chat. We're probably mostly going to get to them at the end, so it doesn't slow us down, but pop them, as they come up. Sarah, do you want to go ahead and take that one right there?
Yeah. So what about schools who are only doing Zoom enrollments? What are your suggestions for us? Mail them something.
Yeah, send them
something. You have their address, send them something and write a personalized note card. Congratulations. So excited for you. It was great to virtually meet you, Jen. Cannot wait for you to start school. Here's a little something for you. Who doesn't love getting a package in the mail? It's the best part of the day when you see the Amazon.
And Sarah, even though you're enrolling them via Zoom, they're going to have to come to your school to start school. So like they're obviously in your area. Mail them, a free haircut, a blowout, something that gets them in your school, and say, when you book your appointment, afterwards, make sure you stop by our enrollment selfie station. And again, I would still do that whole aspect of getting them to post. I don't want to underestimate the power of getting them to post. I mean, I want to like reiterate that point again. Get them to post in your school. Even if you're doing the enrollment via Zoom, encourage them to stop by your school. Make sure the front desk knows that area where they can take the photo and get them excited. Great question. Let's jump back in, Sarah.
Okay.
To our third point.
Ooh, I'm going to let you take this one, Jen. You're really good at this
I
one.
feel like we both need to take this because you and I have sat in some really terrible orientations. Okay, let's talk about orientation. Orientation can sometimes not be great. Okay, sometimes it's going over your rules and policies, right?
And we understand you have to do that.
You have to do it
by law. You have to. Great. We totally understand that.
But this is also before school starts. A lot of people have it the day before. Some have it a week ahead of time. Generally, orientation is before school starts. This is what I call the appetizer for your school. And if the appetizer isn't good, I'm not coming for dinner. I'm good. I don't want to order anything. I'm going to another restaurant. Okay. I really do not like when people make the orientations so dry and so boring that when the people walk away, they're like, I have to go to school here tomorrow.
11 months, 16 months of this. Yikes.
It's a prison sentence.
So if you're a school that has a lot of people that will show up to orientation and then you just don't see them for class start, really look at your orientation process, because that is pretty much the only thing to attribute that no start for. Make it engaging, make it fun, talk about things. Not only, we see a lot of schools that are like, this is what we expect from you. You have to be on time and you can't be late and you can't, take a leave of absence unless you've been in this program. And it's a very kind of like dictating to them, right?
Yes.
So you have to share that information, but in turn, share what they can expect from you. In return, Jen, as our student, you can expect our school to give you this education and this career placement to those who qualify, and share what you're going to be doing for them in return, because they are our customers. And that's so hard to remember when you're a teacher and an educator and a director. They are our customers.
Yep. And another thing about orientation that I think is lacking in a lot of schools is connecting the new starts with each other. Put yourself in the shoes of one of these kids who, maybe a bunch of their friends went to a 4-year school. Maybe their friends graduated 3 years ago and they're the older one, right? They're in their 20s, they're in their 30s. And they're like, oh my God, I have to go to school. I don't know anyone. This is a lot. That first day of school is hard. Yeah. They're not going to know anyone. Good news, at orientation, you're going to get to meet everyone and you're going to get to do a fun activity and you're going to get to break the ice so that when school starts tomorrow or next week, they have a friend immediately. They already have friends. And I think that's something that schools can be better about connecting new starts with each other so that they encourage each other to show up.
One thing we used to do, because when we had orientation, we had cosmetology, nail, Estes, barber, all have orientation on the same day. We'd actually put name cards on the tables and we would put Cosmo students together, Estes students together, because these are the students you're going to be in class with. So you want to bond with them. And how much easier is it walking into a room, a crowded room, and like going right to where your name is? Or checking a seat, or like, oh, should I sit by them? Or, oh no. So have a little name card for them, welcoming them, and then put them around people who are doing similar programs as them.
I think that's great, Sarah. And for the love of God, do not get everyone to stand up in front of everyone and share something interesting about themselves.
No. I would probably, and I'm kind of an extrovert, I'd probably like cringe.
Oh, I know you would. You'd be like, oh God, something interesting. I'm the most boring person on it. Like you have to think of something and you're not even listening to the people up there because the whole time you're freaking out that you're about to have to speak. Do not do that.
That's a great
Do
point.
icebreakers at round tables. Introduce yourself to each other. You know, have a fun game for everyone. But doing things in front of a class, holy crap, don't do that. That is so intimidating.
Mm-hmm. And lecture style is really hard too when you just have a bunch of chairs facing the person up front doing orientation. I love how you said like icebreaker. So maybe have a bunch of little round tables, have the Cosmos together, the barbers together at the Estes, and then they can talk amongst themselves. It's not as intimidating. Great point, Jen. Oh,
and think of like fun hands-on games. So I was at an AACS event like 10 years ago, and there was a super fun game where everyone at the table was given toothpicks and a bag of marshmallows, and you had to make the highest tower. And it was just a way to be like, you know, yeah, it was cute. And it was a way of everyone to talk and everyone's laughing and everyone's tower is collapsing. And it's just like, think of things you can do like that. Now, if your orientation is online, which is one of the questions in the chat, I would use Zoom. Zoom has something called breakout rooms, which I think is phenomenal. And you can do the same sort of thing where you're going to say, all right, guys, these are your 3 icebreaker questions, or this is your challenge. We're going to go off randomly into our icebreaker rooms and you're going to talk with each other about it. And then we're going to come back and one of you guys are going to present in front of everyone or something like that. But I would take advantage of breakout rooms. Anything else for online, Sarah?
Yeah, I know there's a ton of companies that offer team building games online. I did one with my company when we were in the thick of COVID and it was so fun. I don't remember the names, but just Google it and they're really affordable and they make it fun. You can do like, you can compete in groups, you can compete individually. So just try to get them in on that sense.
And anything you can do that engages your audience instead of making it lecture style. So if you can pop up a quiz throughout it, you know, something fun, really anything like what's your favorite food? Like, you know, have a box where people can type stuff in, really anything to keep people engaged, I think is important. Again, Sarah and I have sat in some pretty terrible orientations before, and make sure the person presenting makes it about the students. So Sarah and I sat in an orientation at a school a very long time ago, and the presenter was the director of the school who the entire time spoke about his journey. I went to this school, which by the way, wasn't even the school he was teaching at. It was the competitor down the street. I graduated from this school and this was me. And then I got to do this. And it was so about him that I was just like, how did you connect with anyone? You didn't make it about the kids.
Another thing he did, Jen, and I'm going to go totally off the rails here, which you're used to me doing, is on orientation, he spent 10, 15 minutes talking about referrals, referring people. Why was that a terrible idea, Jen?
That is like recommending a restaurant before you tasted the food.
Yep.
It's embarrassing. It's desperate. That's desperate. It's literally saying like, oh my God, we have no one to go here. Give me the names of all your friends. Yeah. There is a time and a place for referrals, and I love a referral. But that's not
it. It's not an orientation, like you said. Like you've barely looked at the menu.
Yeah. It's
another great thing really quickly for online orientations is have a senior student, someone who's been at this school for a while that you like, come on for like 10 minutes and be like, all right, guys, the best coffee is at this coffee shop right here. If you want to have lunch close by, there's this pizza option or there's this option. People go here after school, just like stuff that's important. Like to me, it's really important when I enroll in school where I'm going to get my morning coffee. So have them talk about things that are going to be valuable to the students.
I love that. What a great idea. And videos. I mean, anything to break up any sort of lecture style with like a little video is great. All right. I think we have exhausted, or Sarah and I like to say in our New York accents, we've exhausted it. Sarah and I learned how to talk New York this past weekend when we were at a conference, and we're obsessed. You guys probably got on here. You're like, oh, these two girls from Brooklyn. Turns out we're not. We're actually not. All right, let's jump into.
I know. I was LOLing at that too. Talking.
Turns out this is going to be the most controversial one.
Oh boy.
We're calling it.
I'm ready.
Okay, financial aid. Let's talk about it. By the way, someone wrote in the comments about the selfie station. Remind me later. We're going to answer that one on how to set up a good one. But for now, I want you guys to write in the comments. Everyone jump in. When do you do financial aid? Before or after the enrollment? Just curious. If I was smart, I would have had a quiz pop up. Oh, before. Okay.
I saw an after.
Both.
Before, during an appointment.
Okay.
Okay. Pre-qualify before, finalize after, before. Wow. More befores than Jen and I have seen in the past 6 months, huh, Jen?
Yeah. I mean, full disclosure, Sarah and I are going to tell you right now, you should be doing it before an enrollment. But what we're seeing is a lot of schools are doing them too late in the process where they just need the enrollment. So they're like, just sign the paperwork. Don't worry. We'll finalize your financial aid after. Y'all, people aren't starting because they don't know what they have to pay out of pocket. Period. That's why they're not starting. We cannot wait till after they've enrolled or the last second to get them involved in the financial aid process. Sarah and I worked with a school what was our expectation, Sarah? 30% might not make it to start date. And it was because financial aid wasn't even covered until after the enrollment.
Yeah. So really they just enrolled. Jen would walk in and say, I want to enroll in school. Great, sign on the dotted line. They would not have an estimated award letter. They would not meet with anyone in financial aid because said financial aid was very busy. Oh my gosh, I understand. Financial aid has a front of the house, back of the house. I get that. So then they enroll these people. A week before class start, they'd call and be like, hey, Jen, you're ready to start school next week. Well, how am I going to pay for the $24,000? Oh, okay. Well, let's have you meet with so-and-so. And then we find out they're in default or they don't qualify for grants like they had thought they would.
Yeah. Absolutely. So what we need to do is the sooner you can get them started in that process. And I'm talking like they book a tour with you and you send them an email of go ahead and fill out your FAFSA. That's going to help you and help me when you get here to, while you meet with your financial aid, right after you meet with me, we're going to understand better what your payments are going to be. This has to be done up front, guys. We've got to move financial aid up. Because it blows my mind, first of all, that anyone would even sign without knowing what they're paying. I don't even know how schools are doing that, if I'm honest with you. You must be really good in admissions. I wouldn't sign anything.
One of your genius email templates you wrote for a school about a year ago was like, hey, in the email about confirming the appointment, if financial aid is important to you, please bring the following documents to your admissions appointment so we can get that process started. I don't remember exactly how you word that part, but that's so important because let's not assume everybody's going to pay cash. Let's not assume everybody's going to need financial aid. Let's leave it in their court, but we can't just pretend it doesn't exist. Like, oh, don't worry. We even heard an admissions person be like, oh, don't worry. Financial aid will cover you. Okay. Well, of course we had to report that to the director of compliance, but they don't. It all sounds great, okay, great, I'll enroll. And then they see their financial aid estimated award letter. That really changes everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that the sooner and also not burying, Sarah, not burying.
Burying.
That's a hard one. The cost.
Oh, so good. Like be upfront. Like the worst is when we're secret shopping a school and we call them, we're like, how much is it to come to school here? I'll tell you that when you come in. Okay, great. If I'm at a restaurant, it says market price next to like the thing, I ain't ordering.
No.
And I could probably afford it, but I'm not going to because I wouldn't want to be put in that situation. That's what our leads thing too. Be very upfront about your cost because you know what? Your school is worth it because you have great education, you have great products, and you prepare people to be successful in careers they love.
You're also making it seem expensive when you don't say how much something is. You're saying, I think you can't afford it. It's a lot. It's going to sticker shock you. So I'll tell you later. You should be confident in the price of your program. We have a question, Sarah.
How would you be able to tell that someone would still like to follow through with enrolling if they already know their financial aid situation? So I don't know if I'm understanding this question right, but if somebody meets with me, I'm going to walk them over to financial aid. They're going to meet with financial aid. That financial aid person is going to bring them back to me. Every appointment and admission starts and ends with me. I am in control of my own destiny. Financial aid has 1,000,001 things on their plate. I want to make sure that I kind of hear what's going on. And if you have time, the best thing to do is have the financial aid and the student come in and say, the financial aid person say to me, hey, Sarah, met with Jen. She's really excited. We did her financial aid. Looks like she's really happy with it. And she's ready to enroll. Have that conversation, not behind closed doors, but with the three of you to show that you're all on the same page.
Yep.
Did you read that question differently than I did, Jen, or no?
No, I think that's right. And unless maybe she is suggesting that maybe someone is not planning on using financial aid. If they already know.
If I didn't answer that correctly, Jessica, go ahead and type something in for us.
All right. And in the meantime, we're going to get back because we want to spend a good amount of time on our fifth point here of why people aren't enrolling. And this is the one that I think is going to be the game changer for schools if they can do this right. Is there something more in the chat, Sarah, before I?
Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate that.
Perfect. Nurturing. This is a big one, is that we're not nurturing them. We are so good at nurturing people once they get enrolled, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this a little bit and how we can make this better. For starters, you need to have someone at your school that's dedicated to new enrollments, period. And maybe it's an educator. If you have multiple admissions people, I would have one person be like the head admissions person of that campus and one be the admissions and new enrolled nurturer. But you essentially, those numbers don't count, y'all, just because you enroll them unless they start. You don't get the money, you don't get the credit. It doesn't go on your conversion rate. No one cares unless they start. And so you need to treat them like you would a new lead. Only this person actually signed on the dotted line. So what does that mean? Here's what I suggest. Let's say Sarah and Lydia are working together at a campus. And Sarah says, Jen, great job. We're so excited to have you enroll and start in our school next month. I'm going to be passing you off to Lydia now, and she will help with any questions you have. If it's about your uniform, orientation, she's going to start emailing you. Communication is going to come from her. If you have questions, let her know. If you have questions about your contract or anything about enrollment, definitely feel free to get back in touch with me. Can't wait to see you next month. You pass them off to another team member, and that team member sends out emails, text messages, videos, and really you could have this all set up in your CRM to just be right, Sarah. Like it just happens on its own. It's not like Lydia is sitting there having to write to 20 different people. She just has to write the journey once and then things go out. But we need to get them excited to start.
I think that's great. If you're a smaller school and you're like, oh my gosh, like we don't have the bandwidth to have someone who's completely separate to take this over, great. Then put it on the admissions person, because it's so true, Jen. What you said was spot on. We work so hard nurturing them before enrollment. So if they enroll and their start date is 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now, a lot can happen. Think about personally how much your life has changed in 2 to 3 weeks. It changes a lot. So if you have a great CRM, set up automation, an email and a text to go out, 10 days, 8 days, 7 days, 6 days before. And it can be stuff like Jen said, videos, like nothing better than a video of like students doing work or in action about the school, dress code where students are buying their uniform. Yes. It doesn't have to be just all looking forward to seeing you October 12th. Like, just keep up that open line of communication so that if something does go awry in their life, they'll reach out to you.
Yeah. And you said earlier about like the coffee, like that right there is a perfect subject line. Like, where are students getting coffee before school? Where are the top 3 places students go on their lunch break? Just little things like that, that just keep you engaged and get you excited. Like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to start here.
Like we recommend, Bongiorno's has great pizza. I recommend the white pie, just stuff personalized, or the Vinanka coffee shop. I get the white mocha. So good. Make it.
Sarah will always recommend a white pie. I don't get it. I think it's disgusting, but when we were together, that's what I love it.
Listen, leave me out of this. Okay. But it's stuff to make it more personalized, because that's what they want, authenticity, specifically Gen Z, right? So personal, like recommendation, stuff like that.
Another thing that you guys have to remember is that Gen Z is the most anxious generation we've ever had.
Oh, I was born ahead of my time, right?
You really were. Isn't that true? I think your daughter is less anxious than you.
Totally.
I think that people need to start sending things for people to be less anxious. For example, when you get here, there'll be plenty of guest parking. Don't park in these areas. Even for someone to come meet in admissions, when you get here, come to the front desk and ask to see Michelle. Just something small like that, because we all have those friends that won't go anywhere unless they've Googled the parking situation. They won't eat anywhere unless they've looked online at the menu. Sarah, I mean, people need to know this stuff ahead of time. So think about all the possibilities that people are going to be freaking out about showing up at your school, and ease it from the jump.
And if we had a nickel for every time a director that we worked with said, you know what, they need to grow up. They need to learn to do this on their own, and we're not going to handhold them, and we're not going to make them feel comfortable. Whether I agree with that statement or not, that's not how our leads are. So if you want to continue doing what you're doing, you're going to enroll 50%, 75% less people than you did 10 years ago. If you're okay with that, great. But we've got to adapt to the changes of our leads. And it is what it is.
If we don't adapt, lower your goals and admissions, period. You're an owner. You can do whatever you want. You want to have people that only A, B, C, D, and E and take 7 Wonderlic tests. Good, great. You're an owner. You do whatever you want. Your standards can be as high as you want, but your enrollment goals have to be a lot lower, because today's leads aren't going to meet that.
They need hand holding. They need to feel wanted and comfortable and authenticity. I mean, there's so many different things, which you guys, I'm probably not telling you anything new. So lean into that, don't be their therapist. Don't invite them in for 2-hour sessions and admissions. No, but lean into that.
We also need to give them blowouts to get them in the school, a free nail polish, whatever, something to get them back in the school, especially if they've enrolled for a way future start date. A live webinar, something like that would be helpful. Again, just making sure that nurturing's there. What we generally do, Sarah, go back to your admissions days. People were about to start. After they enrolled, what was your next communication with them?
Well, which way do you want me? I mean, was it when orientation? Is that what we're talking about?
It was generally, that was pretty much it, right? It's like you enrolled them, and then it was like, okay, reminder, be at orientation. And
I personally would check in on my people just to keep that open line. But it's orientation. It's, hey, orientation is this day, come on time, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So I think anything we can do just to make it a little more fun and exciting, I think it's going to be the way to go to increase your starts.
I want to go back to one thing you just said about services. So if you're giving out free services to your leads who come in, that is amazing. Please make sure that your front desk is making you aware of who's booking their services and when they're coming in. If Jen's interested in Cosmo and she's coming in tomorrow for a free service at 10 a.m., I'm going to make it a point to go out on the floor and to greet Jen and to thank her for coming in, and just to show my face so she feels more comfortable, and ask her afterwards how her service was,
Yeah, I think that's great. And then also be careful who they book it with.
Yes, you should absolutely have a list at the front desk of like who to book, or even book that appointment, walk to the front desk with them at the end of the tour and say, Jen wants to book a haircut. Let's book Jen with Lydia. I think they
Yep.
get along great because you know your students, you enroll them.
Exactly. I think that's great. Let's go back. And guys, if you have questions, pop them in the chat right now. I'm going to go back to the enrollment selfie station. And really, it doesn't just have to be a selfie. It could also be like someone taking a photo, but you definitely want to have a couple ring lights to go from the floor up, right? Maybe you have a step and repeat in the back, but really it's wherever you can find a corner, an area in your school. It really just depends. Maybe it's a section, a corner in the admissions office. I think it's better to have it on the clinic floor, to be honest with you, where people can see and celebrate with you. I mean, imagine walking your new student out to the clinic floor that's hopping and people have appointments and they're holding a sign and you're taking a photo and people look over. Like that's a moment. That could be a referral moment. And to have like, even to say, anytime we bring someone out here after we snap the photo, we want all the students just start cheering for that person.
Right.
Just those little things.
I love that, Jen. That's so cute.
Yeah. Well, look at us coming up with great ideas. Who else has something? Pop it in the chat if you have another question. Again, I hope this has been super helpful to you guys. We want to improve your start rates. Right now, I'm going to put our information up on the screen for you guys. That's how you can reach us.
Yes, announce that they start. I remember a long time ago, we had a school who had like a bell and they would ring it. And like, I kind of thought at the time, like, oh, but now I'm like, oh, that's kind of cute.
I remember you thinking that was cheesy.
Yeah.
And I love it. I mean,
Yeah.
do you ever go to Arby's? Arby's has the bell when you leave. Like you're supposed to ring if the service was good.
Really? Like the fast food restaurant?
Yes. Because like no one eats in there, but that's a thing. They have a bell at the door.
I just know from Selling Sunset, when they sell a house, they ring the bell.
I know. Well, they added that after. Chriselle added that and they all thought that was lame, and now they love it. It's so true. It makes it fun.
It does. Any questions? Jen, this was so fun to be back with you and just talking about admissions.
What a time to be alive. This was a good time. Connect with us on LinkedIn. Sarah and I pretty regularly add admissions and marketing tips for schools. So we're a great resource on LinkedIn. So definitely add us there. There's our email addresses if you want to get in touch with us. Advanced 360 is a digital marketing agency. If you need PPC, social, SEO, all that stuff, Sarah is your girl. And she will handhold you and make sure your admissions team stays on point. If you are looking for more leads through our directory, social, anything like that, definitely get in touch with me. There's my information. Thanks so much for joining us, Sarah. And I am going to have you on another webinar very soon.
I am?
Yes. I'm gonna schedule you for this summer to do another webinar with us.
I look forward to it. Thank you so much for having me, Jen. I love having you as just a partner at Beauty School Directory. You guys do amazing things over there. So thank you.
Thank you. Everyone will get a recording. Amy just asked that. Everyone who signed up for the webinar will get a recording tomorrow. So be looking for that email. Thanks.
Oh, yay, BBI and bye everybody. Oh, hey, Nicole. Oh, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Liz.
Oh, have a good one.
Bye, guys.